Hey guys, Josh here, welcome to Motorcast and our review of the third day of testing ahead of the F1 2017 season. So on the third day then, it was Valtteri Bottas in the Mercedes setting the pace, being the first guy to get below the 1 minute 20 barrier. He set 75 laps today in what was a great day for Mercedes once again. Hamilton in the car in the afternoon and Bottas in the car in the morning. And things just keep on getting better really for Mercedes. It does seem to be a bit of a getting better and better each day, and they certainly do look I think the strongest. It's pretty safe to say. But they're not completely imperious, of course. I'm sure they will have their issues. But yeah, Bottas's time today was a 1:19.705. And that was enough to be quickest on the ultra soft tyres. But interestingly enough, in second place was Sebastian Vettel in his Ferrari, and he was on soft tyres, just 2/10 back. So quite a lot of hype on the internet surrounding Ferrari and if they could actually genuinely challenge Mercedes. But it's just to kind of nearly instantly debunk that. Bottas did manage a 1:20.1 on the softs in the morning, and it's testing as well, so we really can't judge too much into these times. But even so, I think it's safe to say that Ferrari do have a pretty good car for this year. I think it's safe to say there will be regular podium challenges at the very least. Gary Anderson, who was trackside for Motorsport, said that it was easily the most impressive car, and it just looks completely planted through turn 3 and turn 7. The kind of some very tough corners on the track, just like turn 2 and turn 3. It looked absolutely planted. So the Ferrari looking very good. So I'm sure Ferrari fans will be very happy with that. Vettel looking in fine form as well. I'm sure he's going to be very motivated for the season. I mean, obviously, if you remember last year, Ferrari set some pretty big targets and didn't achieve really any of them. So I think this year they're going to be very quiet about it. They're going to be lowering the expectations, and then I think anything in terms of wins could be a major surprise and a major kind of boost, I think, for them. And I think that's certainly a possibility based on 3 days of testing. Of course, we still got a long way to go before, of course, the season kicks off in Melbourne. Coming back to Mercedes then briefly, we had Nico Rosberg present today. Of course, a retired Formula 1 world champion, the reigning world champion, was back in the paddock today looking at these new cars. And of course, a lot of people saying, is he going to regret, retiring from Formula 1? But of course, he seems pretty happy. It was always a pretty strange decision, but I think it was his decision, and who are we to judge? So of course, a lot of the attention was on Rosberg. And Hamilton in the afternoon worked quite a bit on setup. I mean, their car was pretty unsettled kind of just after lunch. It looked a bit twitchy. But then, once the bit of setup work had been done, it looked absolutely planted, and was apparently just about a match for the Ferrari in terms of grip. And in terms of lap time, of course, it was quickest today. Hamilton wasn't really chasing lap times. He was down in 7th today with a 1:22.090. And set 95 laps. So 95 laps for Hamilton and 75 laps for Bottas. Pretty impressive. 170 laps in total for Mercedes. Certainly things are just getting better and better for them. Once again topping the timesheet and the lap count as well per team. So very impressive stuff from Mercedes. And as I mentioned, very impressive stuff from Ferrari. The only minor blip was a stoppage on track right at the end of the day. But I don't think there'll be too many complaints about that. Because really it didn't really matter, it didn't interrupt the running, and by the sounds of it, it was just a very small issue. At the time, we don't know what it is, but it certainly seemed to be a pretty minor one, possibly even just running out of fuel. We've seen that, I think, before from Ferrari during testing, but nothing too much to worry about there. In third place today on timesheets was Daniel Ricciardo in his Red Bull, a 1:21.153 for the Australian. And he managed to put in 70 laps today, so a pretty good day for Red Bull. Fairly quiet, they didn't have as many issues as they did have on the first day. Pretty much Red Bull are getting slowly better and better every day. This was their fastest lap time of the test so far. So I think we will be continuing to see a drop in lap times from that Red Bull team, particularly, I'm sure, next week. They don't usually chase lap times in testing, so... But I think the main thing is reliability. It sounds like that they've kind of turned down the Renault engine. Indeed, all the cars running the Renault engine have seemingly kind of turned it down, not quite running at full capacity yet, or anywhere even close. So I think a lot more to come from Renault, and indeed the Renault-powered cars of Red Bull and Toro Rosso as well. Let's talk about Renault themselves then. Jolyon Palmer was in the car this morning, Nico Hülkenberg in the car this afternoon. Palmer unfortunately did have an off into the gravel at turn 3 just before 8:30, so pretty much just as the session was getting underway. It was on its outlap as well, just coming out of the pits, so yeah, not the greatest thing to do, Jolyon Palmer, but of course, these cars are very, very hard to drive, and I think that's very, very good to see. We're seeing quite a few offs, which I think is what we want. We want these cars to be harder to drive. We want the drivers to really have to wrestle with them and really have to be paying attention 100% of the time. So really, it wasn't a huge surprise, that we're seeing cars go off. We'll talk particularly about one driver who was going off a fair bit and has faced quite a bit of criticism, but I don't think there'll be too much criticism for Jolyon Palmer. Other than that, he had a really, really solid day. Like I said, it was 4th on the timesheets, and his teammate Hülkenberg was 5th. And also Palmer managed to get 51 laps in, obviously slightly disrupted with that off, and Hülkenberg managed to get 42. So 93 laps, probably easily Renault's best day so far of the test. So things certainly looking up for them. Also, a great, great day in comparison to previous days for Marcus Ericsson and for Sauber, a 121.824. Put Ericsson's 6th on the timesheet. And he also managed to set 126 laps, so Sauber managing to break the 100-lap barrier, and really a vastly better day than day 1 and day 2. But they did seem to be pushing for lap times, and the lap time really wasn't there. I mean, they were 2.1 seconds off the pace setting Bottas, so yeah, not absolutely perfect from Sauber today. Certainly improvements to be made. But certainly a lot more promising than what we've seen before. In 7th place was Romain Grosjean in his Haas, 1:22.118. And really, again, kind of a fairly quiet day, really, for Romain Grosjean, which, of course, is certainly, during testing, is not a bad thing. We've seen that Haas kind of up there at the top of the timesheets, or near the top of the timesheets, rather, in the past couple of days. And once again, showing pretty decent pace, slightly slower than Sauber, but I don't think there'll be too much concern for Grosjean. I mean, the car did look slightly unstable from trackside reports, so clearly they haven't quite found the perfect setup yet, and still getting to grips, of course, with these new cars. But Haas, trundling along fairly nicely. I think it's hard to make any judgments about Haas so far, but yeah, things are looking not too bad today. Fairly quiet day for them, nothing too much to report. No kind of major dramas for them. Talking of major dramas, Lance Stroll in 9th place. What a day he's had, or what a couple of days he's had. Basically, of course, yesterday, if you didn't know, he had a big crash. And then basically, Massa was meant to be in the car today, but Williams swapped it round so that Stroll would also be in the car today to kind of make up for the running he lost yesterday. And he had 2 offs. He had an off when the checker flag flew for the lunch break. He then had an off. Basically on his in-lap, and then also had an off about 3:15 today, where he hit this afternoon rather, where he hit the wall. So not ideal for Stroll. Of course, he's come under with a wave of criticism from many fans. Of course, we've already got the kind of HasStrollCrashToday.com website to open that, and quite a lot of negativity towards Stroll. But for me, it's not a major deal really. I mean, yes, okay, crashing your car 3 times in 2 days is never good, even though it is only testing. It is about finding the limit, but maybe he's gone over it a bit too much. Clearly that inexperience is showing. He seems very tense at the wheel. He's got a massive point to prove. He's always had critics really all the way through his career, just because, of course, who his dad is and all the money that's been pumped into his career. He's a very easy target for people to criticise, but for me, he's blindingly quick. He's always had issues with crashing. 2015 Formula 3 season is evidence of that. But then you look at his following season, his second season, and he was pretty fantastic in that, and pretty mistake free. So I think once he gets to grips with his Williams, he'll be much better, and hopefully he won't have any more crashes. But we'll have to see how that one develops over the next week, of course. And it'll be good to see. Hopefully some bit more running for Stroll. But he still managed to get 98 laps in. So apart from the crashes, it was a good day for Williams. But of course, those crashes will mar what should have been really a good day for Stroll. But he's got quite a lot of negativity to face. He'll probably have some difficult questions from the media as well later. But like I said, I don't think we can be too harsh on him. Of course, we've got to remember how young he is, how inexperienced he is, and how much potential he has, and how he's not just there because of the money. Yes, okay, he probably wouldn't have got the seat if he didn't have millions of pounds to throw at it, but he would have got a seat eventually in Formula 1 pretty soon. So Stroll, a massive talent, but I think we certainly haven't seen the best of him yet, and certainly the best is yet to come with Stroll. Hopefully the best is yet to come as well for McLaren Honda, 122.598 for them, 10th quickest. I guess you could say this was the best day for McLaren, but that's not really saying much. 72 laps for Alonso, so pretty decent day of running done for McLaren, mainly focusing on aero runs today and kind of setup work, not chasing lap times. They kind of went out on the ultra soft tyres when came back in. The fastest lap was done on the ultra soft tyres, but don't let that fool you. Certainly wasn't the maximum from that McLaren, and let's certainly hope so. There were a few wild rumours this morning about McLaren ditching Honda and all that, but of course all that was complete rubbish. Toro Rosso, 11th and 13th, not a great day for them in terms of lap time, but of course they're not chasing it. Like I said, with all the Renault powered cars, they're not turned up to anywhere near full capacity. Sainz 11th, Fiat 13th, but like I mentioned, not the best day for them because they only got 63 laps between them, which isn't really great for the third day of testing. And also, Sainz stopped on track as well in the afternoon. He was in the car in the afternoon, and Fiat was in the car in the morning. So not a great day for Toro Rosso. Not too much running done, and of course with that stoppage as well, we're not quite clear if it was a mistake or if it was some kind of failure. It's kind of pointing towards failure from what the reports I've read, but I'm sure it'll come out by the time you're watching this video. And then finally, Alfonso Celis Jr. in the Force India today was 12th quickest. He managed to set a total of 71 laps. A decent day for Force India. They seem to be still having a few issues, which isn't ideal. They don't seem to have the reliability of Mercedes or Williams, although of course the Williams is in the barrier kind of every other session. But Alfonso Celis, decent session for him. Of course, he's basically, he is a paid driver. He is paying for his seat. He's paying for the chance to drive, a brilliant Formula 1 car. So you can't really complain. And it's only for one day as well. So Force India really aren't losing out. They're getting a lot of money from this, from Celis, and he's having a good time as well. He's not really taking up anyone else's seat, because if he wasn't there, then they just hand the duties to Perez or Ocon. So I have no problem with Celis Jr. being in there. I hope he had a good day today, good time, because basically that's what it is. I mean, it's to further his racing career, of course, but I don't think that is going to be a career in Formula 1. But it doesn't mean that he won't have a successful career in another series. But I've talked about Celis Jr. in the past, so I won't go over old ground. But conclusions from today then. Well, the Mercedes versus Ferrari fight continues. They seem to be the two most impressive teams so far. Red Bull and Renault are slowly kind of creeping up the timesheets and creeping up into people's attention slightly more. A decent day for Sauber as well, much needed for them. And of course, I think the biggest headline from today will probably be Lance Stroll and his exploits off the track rather than on them. But I think there'll be a lot of discussion and debate. Be sure to leave your thoughts on Lance Stroll down in the comment section below, and also your opinions on the Mercedes versus Ferrari fight, and who's impressed you most from testing so far, and any general comments you want to make about testing or about indeed these videos here on Motorcast, which will be bringing you daily. Of course, tomorrow as well, the final day of the first week. Then we'll have a recap and review of the first week at the weekend, and then of course next week we'll be covering all 4 days of testing, and then of course the season previews and the race review and preview, of course, for Melbourne in Australia, March 26th. Not long to go now until 2017 gets underway, but for today that is everything. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and subscribe to us here on YouTube. Anyway, I've been Josh Suttill. I hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.